There's very little left I can say about Tomb Raider. It's a franchise that was driven into the ground through repetitive sterility and a leading character who'd become revered more as a virtual sex symbol than as a capable protagonist. Crystal Dynamics did a great job with Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light, but their foray into a full-length adventure for the spelunking heroine is an ambitious one, rebooting the story and character appearance in favour of going for a realistic take on survival and exploration. Suffice to say, the studio have done a tremendous job. Not only is this a damn good action-adventure game, it's the best Tomb Raider game to date. Being a reboot and something of a prequel, this entry finds a young, inexperienced Lara Croft sailing with a ragtag crew towards the Dragon's Triangle, a troublesome archipelago south of Japan. As soon as the game opens, they're hit with a storm and Lara finds herself separated from her crew on a mysterious island, trying to band everyone together to escape, while being tormented by a merciless band of strange inhabitants who will take brutal measure to get rid of them. Her questions naturally lead to an archaeological investigation about the nature of the island and what she has to learn to do in the face of danger and to make it out alive. For starters, the story itself is pretty good. This new take on Lara Croft reinvigorates the character with some great depth and emotional growth to comfortably escape what had become a little bit of a caricature. There's a few elements of the narrative that might have some logic purists scratching their head, and a large chunk of the dialogue seems to reiterate that Lara has less faith in herself than her colleagues do.
You're ready for this. You can do this, Lara. You can do it, Lara.
That aside, the rest of the crew and main villains are a bit of a mixed bag of stereotypes and one-liner cliches that you'll find that you won't really care for them as much as you will for Lara. Tomb Raider can best be identified as a third-person shooter mixed with light elements of survival horror and sandbox exploration. Majority of the game is divided between traversing the island and fighting off the inhabitants while you're bombarded with the very frequent set piece. The game opens up immensely after you finish it when you're allowed to explore the island with the freedom of not having a ticking clock looming over your head. In this respect, the playtime is extended to anywhere between 15 to 20 hours if you're trying to find all of the collectibles and see what's available. A huge plus is that this is probably the only Tomb Raider game I've played where the combat is a pro. The gunplay is tight, the stealth sequences are great to create your own strategies and be a bit of a badass, and I've never played a game where my first choice of preference is a bow and arrow over traditional firearms. It's credit to Crystal Dynamics that they've created an environment suited to make the bow and arrow a preferable choice, and it's easy to use and fun to master. When you're not taking the fight to your enemies, you'll be taking refuge at campsites peppered across the island that act as bases for you to upgrade your skills and your gear. Your skills are upgraded using skill points earned through experience points in combat, exploration, and completing challenges, and encompass Lara's scavenging, hunting, and survival abilities. The gear is the more interesting aspect, upgraded by collecting salvage materials from crates spread across the map and from looting corpses of your enemies. You can upgrade Lara's existing arsenal across several progressive skill tiers, as well as find weapon parts to forge modified versions of base weapons like the bow and arrow and the shotgun. Certain gear and tools are acquired through story progression, and what's great is that they open up dimensions for areas that you sailed through in the beginning of the game that allow you to access originally sealed off areas. Speaking of getting around the island, the campfires also act as fast travel stations to explore everything. You get around by walking, running, climbing and jumping, as well as scaling up precipices using an ice pick-like axe, as well as a series of rope lines that spread across vast areas of the settlements. Across the island are dozens of hidden journal entries and collectibles, as well as statues that can be lit up to reward you with challenge bonuses. There's also a hunting system in the game allowing you to salvage wild animal meat for extra experience, but a lack of animal variety and its anemic feel pales in comparison to how thoughtfully integrated this system is in other games. The best element of the exploration is trampling off the linear path to go search secret tombs, with some of these in places that you wouldn't expect. Each one requires solving a small puzzle to get the golden trophy at the end, but they're unfortunately a bit easy, and for players who are experts at solving brain teasers, it'll feel like you've been a bit shortchanged. There's a great deal to keep you enthralled in the single player to warrant repeat playthroughs, and it's as much fun the second time around. But not so much when it comes to the multiplayer, which put simply, is incredibly average. The main problem is the mechanics of the single player feel loose and unfocused in a multiplayer environment, and what feels like insta-kill damage balancing of the weapons can make it hard for people to enjoy a match. There's no party system for easy friend play, its modes have been done better in other games, and the loadouts are faction-based, meaning you'll never be able to fully personalise one consistently for every round. It's a big shame because there are moments where you'll really enjoy yourself, but then a large remainder of the time you'll bemoan what should be something simple to do that's cumbersome and unnecessarily affects your gameplay experience. Give it a go, but don't expect it to be your new time sink anytime soon. Tomb Raider is easily the franchise's most visually resplendent game, with some excellent design, solid character models, and multiple jaw-dropping set-piece sequences that rival the likes of many AAA titles. The attention to environmental detail in particular is almost perfectionistic, with many shadows refracting through water and smoke plumes rising from Lara's axe as she foxes down rope lines. It's clear that plenty of TLC went into the aesthetics, but it's easy to see that the ball was dropped in the functioning side of the game, with some frame rate slowdown in the visually busy areas, screen tearing, and enemy AI behaviours that glitch out in certain areas for no reason whatsoever. A few flaws aside, this is one incredibly pretty looking game. Lara Croft is back in a big way, and it's a great thing because we've never really been treated to as complex a version of her as we're treated to in Tomb Raider. This is what a reboot should be, something that takes a well-established brand, strips it down completely, and then rebuilds it with its own identity while remaining true to the original essence. This is pure action-adventure with a great single-player campaign, and though the multiplayer brings it down in terms of total package value, the sheer breadth and excitement of Lara's latest trek is one that every gamer should head down to the shop and pick up. If you're still on the fence about the game because of being burned by Tomb Raider before, then head down to the video shop and get it as a rental first.